Cowboys.
Come on, y'all! Get you some of that!
Hey everybody, welcome to the Blue Star Roundup. I'm Rob Vale. This is Levi Batchelor. We are the Middle Tennessee Dallas Cowboys fan club, and we're really glad you joined us for this week's edition. We are going to jump right into it. We're going to talk about the previous game against the New York Giants, and we're going to preview the upcoming game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And well, it wasn't pretty, and it wasn't a win either.
In a 10-7 ball game, it's never gonna be pretty after 60 minutes and only 17 points scored. I hate losing to New York. I hate losing. I hate losing, especially to a division rival, and especially to the New York Giants, let alone twice this year. In all honesty, I think the Cowboys needed this. I think they needed a loss. I think they needed I thought the Minnesota game was a really good gut check, and that's why the lack of execution this past week really surprised me, because I thought that Minnesota would be that gut check. But, you know, these guys know now that, look, you got to not only prepare throughout the entire week, you have got to show up when you get there. And this past week, it looked like the offense just didn't show up.
I mentioned it last week about how difficult it is to win 3 games in 12 days. And it's even more difficult to win 4 games in 19.
Yeah.
And I think it finally showed up. I'm not going to blame it all on that, but it's just a difficult thing to do. And when most teams are playing 3 games in 21 days, playing 4 in a 19-day period, I'm sure it zapped them.
Yep.
And then playing on the road in a pressure situation, and you got a rookie quarterback as well as he's been playing. You know, you saw Dak come crashing back to earth this week.
Saw him look like a rookie.
You know, a lot of people said, "Well, the play calling was terrible, and all that kind of stuff," and a lot of it was. But where the biggest problems came was when Dak checked out of a lot of plays, and I praised him the week before for checking into that long pass to Dez. This week, if I'm going to praise him, I got to criticize him too, because on 3rd and 11, and you check into a run where you are going to toss the ball 4 yards backwards late in the game, it just wasn't a good thing. I thought the use, and this is where the coaching comes into play, the play calling. I thought the fact that we were taking Zeke off the field on critical 3rd downs and putting Dunbar in was patently ridiculous.
Yep.
When you have a guy who is leading the league in rushing, and not by a little bit, you need to have him in there. Emmitt Smith didn't come off the field in those situations. He was your go-to guy. So if you're going to establish yourself as a running team, you need to have him out there. You have to be balanced. And I just didn't see the balance as much. Now I think they ran more than they attempted to pass, but they weren't. I just don't think they were effective runs. They weren't effective play calls. Now Zeke did get 107 yards, but still, we need to do better. And the thing that we didn't do, like we said last week, had to control the line of scrimmage. They didn't do it. They did not do it.
You made a fantastic point about Zeke being out there. If your identity is going to be, $75 million across the offensive line, and you're going to identify as a running team, why is Zeke sitting on the bench on 3rd down? That was a fantastic point. One, man, that field was awful because of the rain and the snow and everything. You saw a bunch of guys. Dez was falling down all over the place. You saw receivers on both teams. So I'm not just picking on the Cowboys or on the Giants. You saw guys on both sides. The ball hit their hands and just popped straight up and out. And I mean, you saw Eli on the big fumble that he had. The ball just came out, just slipped straight out of his hand. I don't know. I'm not necessarily blaming the loss on those things, but I think that the field, the lack of execution, the ball conditions, or what, Dak was all over the place. Like his accuracy all year has been his strong suit. that he hasn't had to go out there and stretch the field or make all these crazy wild plays, because most of the crazy wild plays that he makes is with his feet. There were throws, it seemed like every throw from Dak, except for when T. Will got wide open on that blown coverage. Every throw that Dak made, other than that one, it seemed like a foot and a half behind the receiver. Every throw. Before this past game, we had played 12 games. Dak had never looked that inaccurate before, ever. So I'm hoping that this was simply a fluke game, that maybe since it was so cold, maybe he wasn't used to playing in that kind of a cold, slick, slippery, icy environment and just wasn't used to holding on to the football like that. I just hope, not even hope, I think that this was a fluke. And, so the sky is not falling. The sky is not falling. The sun will rise tomorrow, and this is still Dak Prescott's team.
The old adage is you dance with the one who brung you, and Dak brought us.
Yep.
Okay, Dak got us to the playoffs. Dak has done a fantastic job. But where you saw problems on Sunday, where you saw problems with him against Minnesota, and where you saw problems with him the week before, because this is 3 weeks in a row where he hasn't looked stellar.
Yep.
Okay. You're starting to see some things in his game that he just hasn't learned yet. We are on a Super Bowl run. We're not on a playoff run anymore.
Right.
That's over with. We've hit the playoffs, okay? We're now on a Super Bowl run.
Yep.
We're the only team in the NFL on a Super Bowl run right now, even though we've won 2 of those 3 games. Those games didn't have to be that close. If our offense was clicking the way it was earlier in the season, neither of those games would have been that close.
Linehan has gotten away from what Dak did really well, and that was moving the pocket, waiting for the receivers to run good routes, and then hit open guys.
Yep.
That's what made that. So why do you not dial it back and run your high percentage success plays to... I know that football isn't a game of moral victories, right? It's not. It depends what the final score is. It's not a game of moral victories. But if you're going out there and you're seeing Zeke get stacked up at the line, and you're seeing Dak's clearly not comfortable with the play call, and he's having to check out of a whole bunch of calls, why do you not just say, fine, let's take a step back and let's run the high percentage stuff that I know Dak is not just comfortable with, confident in. You see what I mean? And then you sit and run a few of those plays and then sprinkle in the rest of the playbook and get back to what got us to 11-1.
I get what you're saying. Here's my counterpoint. The things that were successful early in the year, the defenses are starting to take that away. Where he got outside, what they're doing is they know that. So they're bringing the outside linebacker into that gap. They're bringing their safeties down. They are spreading him out. They're also taking away, if you notice, they're taking away a lot of that underneath stuff where he was really successful going out and hitting that underneath stuff to Beasley for 25 yards, and he catch it at 6 yards and run it for another 18 yards. That stuff's starting to go away a little bit. You'll see him play that single high stuff, so he's not going to be able to get deep. You're seeing him bring those linebackers down inside. They're playing inside tight. They're not letting him get outside. And I think your point about Linehan's well-founded. However, the thing I will say about this, when he goes to the line of scrimmage, the play has already been called, and you have a certain personnel group already on that field. There is a finite number of plays that you can run out of a personnel group and specific formations. And you'll see them change those formations if he audibles out or he does whatever. He might be overthinking it now. He might be overthinking, going, okay, I've seen this, so whenever I've seen this, usually the defense goes into that. I don't think Scott Linehan forgot how to call plays with this offense.
Sure.
I do think what has happened, however, You can't take him off the field. That's the thing that bothers me about it.
Enough doom and gloom. How about this defense? Oh my gosh. Sean Lee, that was the best linebacker play I have ever seen.
I just got to say, we are Penn State. Yes, I agree with you. I absolutely agree.
This past game was by far the best I have ever seen Sean Lee look. I mean, he was amazing.
This defense has really played well. Let's get into some of the numbers real quick before we take our break. They're not real stellar, but on offense, Dak was 17 for 37, 165 yards, had that one touchdown and 2 interceptions. Yuck. Ezekiel Elliott, he had 107 yards rushing. His longest rush was 15 yards. Pretty good game from Terrence Williams, 5 for 76, and a touchdown. He had that big long one for 31 yards. Beasley had 4 catches. Witten had 4. Dunbar got 3. And Dez was pretty much shut out. He had 1 catch for 10 yards.
And a fumble.
Critical fumble.
Yeah.
Sean Lee on defense was just, lights out. 11 tackles, 7 assists. Carr had 5. Mayowa had 5. Crawford had a sack. And Mayowa had a sack. Time of possession was pretty much even. Giants had a 2-minute edge, but it seemed to me that they had the ball a lot longer.
It did.
It just seemed like our offense was going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and it was crazy. But and I think what attributed to that being a lot closer was the fact that we were able to get some turnovers,
right,
and we were able to get some sacks and some pressure to force some of those things out. Zeke has on the year 1,393 yards rushing. He's 257 yards ahead of DeMarco Murray. So he's leading the NFL with 3 games left. He's going to need a couple monster games if he's going to catch Eric Dickerson's record. But stranger things have happened. Sean Lee is second in the NFL in tackles with 130. The leader has 139. So just kind of wrap that up with some numbers. It wasn't a stellar outing by any stretch of the imagination, but we move on. And speaking of moving on, we are going to take a break. We're going to come back in just a couple minutes. We're going to talk about the upcoming Tampa Bay game, take a look at our sponsors, and we'll be back in a minute.
Well, up in the north, the way out west, even in the east, they know that we're the best in the land of the star. We're living the dream. Texas proud, we're America's team. We're the Cowboys. Stop!
The them Dallas Cowboys.
Stop! Come on, everybody, out of your seat. Stand up now and stomp your feet. Let's raise the roof, make a little noise. Here come the Dallas Cowboys.
And we are back. I appreciate you sticking with us, and I hope you had a chance to check out our sponsors at GameDaySportsTours.com, Sam's Sports Grill, and the Ultimate Sports Fan in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. We really do appreciate them and all they do for us. So make sure you check them out and tell them you heard about them through us.
The Blue Star Roundup.
That's right. So we're moving on to Tampa Bay this week. We have an opportunity. We possibly, at this point, could clinch the division by the time we get to that game if Detroit beats the Giants earlier in the day. If that happens, we will clinch the division with a win against Tampa Bay, so that's on the line. Tampa Bay starting to surge quite a bit. Tampa Bay is just one of those teams I don't know how to characterize them. They're kind of like that Jekyll and Hyde kind of group. But right now they're
team. You just call them a young team.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to get the good and the bad.
The guy that you really got to look at and control is Mike Evans.
Oh, yeah.
He's leading. He's fifth. He's the 5th leading receiver in the NFL in terms of yards. He's got 1,100 yards receiving, so he knows how to get open. Our defense is going to have to do again like they did the last week and the week before, and to step up and keep this thing under control, which I think they'll do. I don't really expect them to put up big numbers on the day. If our defense plays the way we have, I think we can get to Jameis Winston. I think that we'll do fine there. My biggest concern is that this Cowboy offense bounces back. Not done what we've expected them to do. I want them to. I expect them to, and I do believe they will come out of their shell a little bit. What do you think?
In our preview of the Vikings game, we talked about how Philly had just gone into Minnesota and trounced them. And I made a comment that it wasn't necessarily that Philly had all of this talent and was such a better team. They just matched up really well against Minnesota. I think that that's evident now by Philly getting beat again this past weekend. I think they're 5-8 now.
Yeah, they're
so
done.
their year is done. I think that this is the perfect game for the Cowboys to get back on track because I think that we match up really well against Tampa Bay. Winston falls right into what Marinelli wants to do on defense because he holds the ball. Because it takes a while for Evans. If Evans can get out there and make 2 moves, he's open. On the flip side of that, Winston will sit and hold the ball and stare him down until he makes 2 moves, and he throws him open too. So they're very much a big play threat, a lot like OBJ and Eli, but Eli is like the exact opposite of what Winston is because Eli gets the ball out as soon as he takes the snap. 2.5 seconds and the ball is out no matter what every time Eli goes back to pass. And it works out a lot for him because he's a big guy and he's hard to take down and he throws the ball really hard and has the prototypical arm that you would want of a gunslinger that can put the ball anywhere on the field that he wants. But like I said, the downside of that is that which plays right into what we want to do on defense, is that he's going to sit and hold on to that ball and hold on to that ball and hold on to it. As long as our defensive line can go out and play like we played against New York, and Sean Lee can show up the way that he showed up again, yeah, I think that the defense ought to be on and off the field pretty quickly.
Well, and it certainly helps that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers really don't have a run game. That helps that defense quite a bit. I expect this to be one of those games where at the end we're like breathing a sigh of relief. I think Dak gets back on track. I didn't mean that to rhyme like that, and I did it again.
There you go.
So, but I do believe that they will that they'll get back to doing what they do. A little home cooking never hurts.
Right.
You know, we've had 2 games in a row on the road, and I'll say this too. I just wonder if that little mini bye didn't get them out of their groove, so to speak.
Yep.
So maybe Stella gets her groove back this week. So every week we talk about guys to watch and all that. For me, this week the guy I want to keep an eye on is Dak Prescott. Obviously, he's got to be the most obvious, I think, in my opinion, because as we have seen. And it's starting to look like that. As Dak will go, maybe this offense goes.
Yep.
So it doesn't necessarily mean we don't win the game, but it certainly means that we can make it a lot easier on ourselves if he's successful.
That's exactly right, and that's a terrific pick. For me, I want to see Sean Lee show up again. If he can show up and be the same kind of beat.
And did I say we are Penn State?
Yeah, he was in the backfield.
Yeah.
He was in coverage. He was in run stuffing. There was nothing that Sean Lee couldn't do last week, and I hope that I want to see if he's able to replicate that again because it was so much fun to watch.
And he's smart. He's very intelligent. He knows what he's doing.
And it's good to see him take care of his body so much better this year.
Yeah,
He's been in fantastic shape the entire year. He has not missed a snap on defense.
Don't say that.
Oh.
That whole defense has played really well.
Yes.
And really, when you think about that defense, they've had their backs against the wall. People getting hurt, being out.
Yep.
Guys being missed on suspension and things like that. Oh, one more thing, too, regarding suspensions. Randy Gregory. I haven't heard anything else as of this moment, as of this videotaping, which we are doing on Tuesday. This is Tuesday afternoon. Randy Gregory is still scheduled to be back after this game. So, hopefully he's got his head screwed on straight and wants to play some football.
All
So,
you can hope for.
3 things to look for. Why don't you go first?
Offensive execution. That's been our Achilles heel the last couple of weeks. You have to stop shooting yourself in the foot with penalties and with the stupid turnovers and bad throws. Number 2, you've got to take advantage of your opportunities. An NFL game can come down to who can take advantage of a blown coverage, who can make one big play. That there's a turning point in every game, and I think that a lot of it hinges on who takes advantage of an opportunity. And so, on defense, if we're able to make a big stop and pin them deep, the offense has got to take advantage of that opportunity. If we're on offense and see another blown coverage, you got to take advantage of the opportunity. So I think it's carpe diem. Let's seize the day. Take advantage of your opportunities. And 3, I would like to see a concerted effort to get back to what got us to this point, and those high percentage, high conversion rate passes that build confidence, that give us that swag, and then start stringing drives together.
Yeah, good points. So for me, number 1 is defense. Just keep balling. Just keep doing what you're doing. Rally and tackle, rally and tackle, rally and tackle. We talked about it before. So defense, keep doing what you're doing. On the offensive line, gotta open up the holes for Zeke.
Yep.
You gotta. I mean, and they, they can do it. And they've done it and everything. And you can't be Superman every week.
Right.
You just can't be Superman every week. And I think we'll see them get those holes open back up and take over that line of scrimmage like they're used to doing. And then I think what they got to do is that offensive line got to give Dak good protection, and they got to give him good throwing lanes.
Yep.
When we talked before about him getting on the move and all of that stuff, but I think he's really effective when he can step up in the pocket, and he has an opportunity to assess what's ahead of him. So if you give him throwing lanes, he's able to do that, and he's able to make a lot of big plays. So, and like you said earlier, make some plays with his feet.
Yep.
Let him get scramble a little bit. Let him run. Let him take off and do his thing. So that's kind of it. What's your prediction?
I think the defense has another good game. I think the offense starts. I don't think that they come out and end up blowing Tampa Bay out. But I think we start getting back on the right track. I like the Cowboys 21-13. I
got them at 28-10, and I don't think it'll be that close.
There you go.
And the reason I say that is I really think I just got until they prove to me that they don't have character.
Yep.
I think they'll get back on track, and I think that they'll understand what's at stake, and they'll come out with a renewed sense of. You said it earlier. They needed this. Maybe they needed this.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we're going to find out. So, well, we do appreciate you joining us tonight, and I really hope you enjoy the show. Why don't you do us a favor? Go out there and check out our sponsors, GameDaySportsTours.com. Come on out to Sam's Sports Grill at Blue Turtle Bay in Old Hickory, Tennessee for our watch party.
Get the pizza.
Pizza was awesome.
Right.
Again, it's just fantastic. It's going to be Sunday night against the Buccaneers. The party starts at 7 o'clock. And make sure for your Christmas gifts, if you got a sports fan in your family, get out to the Ultimate Sports Fan in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. They're in the paddock area, in where the Lowe's and the Walmart is. They got all kinds of stuff for a Cowboys fan or any NFL team fan. They've got Vols stuff. They've got Titans. They've got Predator stuff. They got Sound stuff. They got all kinds of stuff out there. A lot of novelty stuff, a lot of clothing. It's a great place. And so please check them out as well. Anything else?
That's it.
Well, all right. Well, we're going to leave it there for this week. We will look forward to talking to you next week after the Cowboys Tampa Bay game. And again, if you're in the Middle Tennessee area, come on out to Sam's Sports Grill at Blue Turtle Bay in Old Hickory for the watch party. We'll look forward to seeing you then. Y'all have a great week.
Go Cowboys.
Up and down.